When you think of border controversies, the U.S.-Mexico border likely comes to mind. But what about the North? Is Canada the overlooked loophole in America's border security? Former President Donald Trump seems to think so, reigniting a debate that has gone relatively quiet for years. But is his rhetoric justified, or is this another political flashpoint? Let's break it down. Trump has often painted the Canada-U.S. border as a potential weak link in America's national security. While the focus has historically been on the southern border, his administration occasionally turned its gaze northward, raising concerns about illegal crossings, smuggling, and national security threats. But how real are these concerns? Let's put things into perspective. Compared to the southern border, where over 1 million encounters occur annually, the Canada-U.S. border sees a fraction of that number. However, critics argue that the smaller figures don't mean smaller risks. In fact, the 5,500-mile border is far less monitored, with vast stretches left undefended, an inviting prospect for those looking to bypass traditional checkpoints. One hotspot that highlights the issue is Roxham Road in Quebec, where thousands of asylum seekers have crossed into Canada to avoid formal immigration channels. While most are seeking refuge, some fear these pathways could also attract criminal elements. Trump's claims about the border's security gaps tap into these fears, and while the scale of the problem might be exaggerated, the vulnerabilities cannot be ignored. For Canada, this raises tough questions. Is the country too lenient in its approach to immigration and border security? Critics argue that Canada's openness, while admirable, may inadvertently create opportunities for human smugglers and other criminals. Resources for the RCMP and CBSA, already stretched thin, have struggled to keep pace with these challenges. A recurring debate is whether Canada is adequately prioritizing border security compared to its humanitarian commitments. But is this solely Canada's problem? Some experts believe a cooperative approach is the answer. Agreements like the Safe Third Country Agreement, which mandates asylum seekers to apply in the first safe country they arrive in, could be expanded to address emerging challenges. However, this requires significant political will on both sides, a scarce commodity in today's polarized climate. Moreover, any changes to such agreements risk backlash. As critics warn, they could further complicate an already complex system. This issue isn't just about the Canada-U.S. border. It's a microcosm of global migration challenges. Conflicts, climate change, and economic disparity are driving millions to seek better lives, forcing wealthier nations to navigate a precarious balance between security and humanitarian obligations. But framing migration solely as a security threat risks dehumanizing the very people these policies aim to address. The human stories behind the headlines often get lost in the political noise, and these nuances demand a closer look. Meanwhile, Trump's rhetoric serves a dual purpose. Domestically, it galvanizes his base, reinforcing the narrative that only he can safeguard America's borders. For Canada, however, it's seen as both a challenge and an opportunity to rethink its approach. Should Canada push back against claims it views as exaggerated, or address the underlying vulnerabilities Trump's comments highlight? The answer may define Canada's border policies for years to come. Another layer to this discussion involves the evolving tactics of those exploiting border gaps. Technological advancements, from drones to encrypted communication networks, are increasingly used to bypass security measures. This adds urgency for both Canada and the U.S. to modernize their border infrastructure and intelligence sharing capabilities. Yet, finding the political and financial resources to address these challenges remains an uphill battle. The Canada-U.S. border has long been celebrated as the world's longest undefended boundary. But in today's political and security climate, it's increasingly becoming a symbol of the complexities nations face in a world of shifting borders and rising migration. While the numbers may pale compared to the southern border, the symbolic weight of these issues makes them no less significant. As this debate continues, one thing is clear. The Canada-U.S. border is no longer just a line on a map. It's a stage where immigration policy, national security, and humanitarian principles collide. And whether Trump is right or wrong about the border, his comments have ensured that this issue won't be fading from the spotlight anytime soon.